Hello, is this not bright enough? Can you see me? Okay. I feel like that's harsh. Ooh, okay. Well, anyways, hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Nayanda back again to give you, I decided to go ahead and do some astrological predictions. I gave somebody one last year. I've been studying astrology for a couple years now. And I've been using it as a tool in my life, and it's proved to be very helpful for me in a multitude of ways. And I just kept getting this pull. You guys don't know this, but I've actually recorded several readings up until this point. And oh, where's my bow? Hold on. I don't know if I like it. Maybe I should put it on another time. Anyway, sorry. To be able to plan around, especially because just in the same way that people use religion to give themselves some sort of structure, right? Like when stuff is falling apart, okay, you go to church or whatever the case might be. For me, I go to a couple things, but I go to astrology for a lot of it. Like, okay, what the, you know, those funny memes where it's like, what in the fuckery are the planets doing right now? Yeah, so it's like stuff like that. And it's like, it's really helped me for the past several years to really find out what's going on. And also to be able to pinpoint when important events are likely to come about. And I just kind of, I don't know why I feel like I was Canadian, but because it's been such a useful tool for me, I did want to start extending that gift of mine to other people. Now, of course, everybody knows that I do things a little bit differently. So of course, check out other astrologers too. You don't have to listen to my word as like law. But anyways, so my favorite person right now is a Leo rising, and I figured that I would start these yearly predictions with the fire signs, and then we'd go forward from there. I'm gonna kind of go off of the dome from what I'm just looking at, because that's just kind of how I've been functioning lately. So this is going to be, and the reason why rising sign is important astrologically speaking, you need to know your rising sign, although I have seen that it has worked out for people with their sun sign as well. Just keeping that in mind. But the reason why the rising sign is so important is because your houses are divided into 12 houses, okay? So every time that the planet moves in the sky, it's moving within those 12 houses. And each house embodies a certain energy in a certain area in your life, and each planet also embodies a certain energy. So the planet brings an energy and it goes into a house that has a specific energy, okay? So that's the reason why, like, when we do these predictions, knowing your rising sign is so important, because although knowing your sun sign is important, it doesn't help me to tell you what direction you're going. But still, watch your big three no matter what. But for like something more specific, I always say to look for your rising sign. So we're going to start with Leo rising. In my meditation before getting here, I was guided to tell somebody, and I'm not sure, I'm gonna try not to doubt it. Somebody's grandma is coming through, and they want to say, I feel really shy saying this. They said that they're really proud of you, and either they said, remember our bond or remember our promise. It was one of those two, remember our bond or remember our promise. So I'm not sure if one of you guys had like a promise or a deal or something like that that you made with like an ancestor that's crossed on the other side. If not, it could just be you had a really tight-knit bond. Maybe that tight-knit bond is going to help you get through some things in the year of 2024, or maybe your bond with this individual, this person could be serving as a guide to you. And just knowing that whatever it is that you're going through, remember that you do have people on the other side that are looking out for your best interest. And to always remember that when something's going on, I'm almost being guided to tell you that you can always call upon those people and ask them to give you some sort of direction, especially when it comes to like fogginess. Like if you're dealing with mental fog, or you feel like somebody's trying to manipulate you very specifically, is what I'm hearing. You can always call back to those ancestors. There's something about not being able to trust the people around you, but that's going to be for like a personal reading. I'm going to get to that in a different video. But I was guided to tell somebody that today. So let me get my notes out, and we're going to go ahead and start with Leo risings. So for Leo risings, there is a huge theme for you surrounding your interpersonal relationships. Now, you might not know this, but back in, when was it? I'm hearing something about 2012 is significant as well, but back in 2020, the Saturn entered your 7th house of relationships. And humorously enough, Saturn was that was my official Saturn return, but different story. So you've been dealing with the theme of relationships since back in 2020. And when Saturn enters a house, so the 7th house is also the house of marriage, so you might have been around 2020 even considering like maybe getting into a more serious commitment or getting engaged or something of that nature, looking for a more Saturnian type of partner to have something established with. But when Saturn enters the 7th house, it does not enter that house simply to bring you that person. When Saturn enters the 7th house, it actually comes with the lessons and the challenges that build you up to be able to have healthy relationships. Does that make sense? Now, like I said, the 7th house is ruled by Libra, so it's the house of marriage, but this is not just about marriage. It's actually about, the 11th house is like a broader, like you are who you hang out with, but 7th house is very specifically me and you, okay? So this also goes into friendships, even enemies and things of that nature. So since from 2020 to about early, maybe February, March 2023, you've been dealing with the theme from interpersonal relationships. And it's a very important lesson to learn. What ends up happening when Saturn enters that arena is it also brings karmic lessons. So shit from past lives that you did not learn, shit that you did not get over, shit that you did not get past, or maybe lessons that you hadn't learned. And what ends up happening, because my best friend, her Saturn return is going on right now. And when I say Saturn return, what that means is that the planet Saturn enters the house and enters the sign that it was in when you were born. And with that comes, it's known as a very hard, harsh time, because it comes with a lot of those past life lessons from your childhood. Just, it's almost like a major test, an accumulation of a bunch of different lessons. And a lot of people like lose their shit during their Saturn return. It's like people die, people lose jobs, people get divorced. That's a really big one for Saturn returns. People have children, people take off in their career. It's very intense for a lot of people. So think about what happened when your Saturn was in its sign. Google that. Like, that's what I actually found out earlier. I was in doing your reading, because Leo risings, you and I have something in common, but we're going to get to that in a second. In doing your reading, I ended up having to Google when the North Node was in, or when the South Node was in a house of mine. And then I realized the reason why Leo risings were so in common with me right now, it's because the same transit that I had happen back like 5 years ago is the same transit that you're having happen right the fuck now. Okay, so with that having been said, going back to the whole Saturn issue, is that Saturn was in your 7th house for the past 3 years. So for the past 3 years, you've been dealing with the theme of relationships, whether that be friendships, whether that be family, whether that be, it's more likely in like the romantic sphere, but it does encompass all of those together. This is a major lesson for you. So Saturn left your 7th house last year. It entered in your 8th house of shared resources, of secrets, of occultism. When I say shared resources, I mean very specifically money, like shared finances. And I also want to reiterate that when Saturn enters a certain house, it also restricts. That's the reason why I say when Saturn enters a house, like when it's in your 7th house, it's probably not advisable to get married around that time. You could if you feel led to, but it's not really advised. It's more so wait it out and write it out. Like, you need to learn those lessons first, because typically when Saturn enters a house, whatever, especially when it first enters that house, whatever is coming to you probably is not the best option, because you're supposed to be learning about what it is that you like, what's good for you, what's not good for you. But this has been a really tough lesson for you, because on top of that, Pluto as well has entered that house, but it actually went retrograde back into your 6th house of health. We're going to get to that in a second. But there's been a heavy theme about relationships and also your career, because you have some major transits with Uranus going into the 10th house as well. Your reputation is transforming, your career is transforming. You may even find, well, let's just go ahead and get right into the forecast. So right now, like as we speak right now, as I'm recording this video, Mercury is retrograde. And of course, everybody always, oh no, Mercury is retrograde. What does that mean? So Mercury is currently retrograde in your 5th house in Sagittarius. And the reason why I was bringing up relationships so much is because the 5th house is the house of your inner child, the house of creativity, the house of pleasure, but it's also the house of dating. So we have the 7th house is the house of marriage, like long-term relationships. So the person that you are meant to marry, or the first people that you know, because not everybody's only destined for one marriage, fun fact, the person that you would have longevity with will embody the energy of the sign of your seventh house. The people that you're most likely to have flings with will embody the energy of the fifth house. And the person that you marry might have like a conglomerate of both of those energies together. But typically the people that embody the fifth house energy are connected to more of your child self, right? And what ends up happening when Mercury goes retrograde in the fifth house, and it's going to be retrograde in your fifth house up until New Year's Day, okay? You might have a lot of exes coming back, and the reason why they're coming back, I'm so sorry to say this, and this is why I enjoy astrology, because when you study astrology, it takes you from being just somebody that's experiencing something to an active participant in your life. So when you know that Mercury's going to go retrograde in the fifth house, you already know, okay, so I'm going to have people, you know, flangs and exes and shit like that come back into my life. Mercury's going retrograde there so that you can review what exactly you were supposed to learn, because Saturn's already in your eighth house. Okay. So Saturn already moved past that. Now it's like diving into, I'm hearing something about hidden agendas as well, but when we talk about the eighth house is about sex. The eighth house, like I said, shared finances. The eighth house is about occultism. So maybe you've even been interested in learning more about occultism or like esoteric knowledge, astrology and stuff like that. Saturn is coming and bringing those lessons to those themes that I just mentioned, but it left your seventh house of relationships. Okay. So now Mercury is entered your fifth house of pleasure and dating and your inner child. But it's retrograde, so it's causing you to go back and to reflect on what it is that you learned the past 3 years from Saturn entering and leaving that seventh house. And this is the reason why, like, if you've been having like, ooh, I heard doped up. I'm sorry. I get channeled messages sometimes. You have these people coming back. I'm also getting like a sense of irritation. Like maybe these are people that might have burned you in the past coming back. They're coming back for you to realize or to review what it is that, what lesson did you learn with this person? I'm almost kind of getting motivated to tell you, just because somebody calls you doesn't mean you have to answer. Does that make sense? I saw this one quote online that it said, you don't have to enter every argument that you're invited to. So it's like these people in these situations, former enemies, former frenemies, former exes and stuff like that, up until about January 1st, you could be experiencing a lot of that coming back around. And that's for you to review those lessons that you did learn when Saturn was... Oh, somebody's playing music. When Saturn did transit through that seventh house. Also, you might find yourself going through a creative block right now, or maybe you're rethinking your creativity, the ideas that you have, because along with Uranus transiting your 10th house, which I'm going to get to that in a second, there's a heavy theme here about how you're perceived by the world and how you present yourself to the world and how you truly feel on the inside. So you have transits going on in your fifth house of creativity, of pleasure. You have Uranus really encouraging you to rebel for like, I think 2 more years after 2024, really encouraging you to rebel when it comes to your reputation or your career. It's like you want to do things differently. And with your 10th house of career being in Taurus, that might be really uncomfortable for you, because Taurus also rules money. So you might have actually gotten to a point where you actually are really comfortable where you're at in your career. Maybe you made a lot of money or established yourself in your career, and now you're feeling this urge, like, especially if you're in like a creative field, you're feeling this urge to drastically change something. And that's because Uranus is a rebellious planet. Uranus comes and knocks everything over, and you know what I'm saying? But not in the way that Pluto does. Pluto comes, it's death and rebirth. Pluto comes and it kills, so that something new that needs to be replaced with it can grow. Uranus comes and it's like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and I'm not gonna do it anymore. We're gonna do this instead. Uranus is also androgynous. It's like Uranus is like, I'm not gonna conform to anything. So you could be feeling really inspired, especially in the month of January, or even right now as we speak, to really start reanalyzing your career and your creativity and how you express yourself. And we're gonna get into that in a second as well. In fact, I might just go into that right now, because up until, I'm not sure if it'll leave in 2024 or 2025, you also have the nodes, which are the destiny points in Aries and in Libra. So the South Node, which is the lessons that you mastered in a past life, and also your comfort zone, is currently in Libra in your 3rd house. The North Node is currently in Aries in your 9th house of higher learning, of spiritual knowledge, of essentially you could consider Libra elementary school, and you can consider, not Libra, I'm sorry, you can consider the 3rd house elementary school. Consider the 9th house college. Does that make sense? And with your 3rd house being in Libra, what that essentially means, because Libra always wants to bring harmony, the 3rd house also rules siblings, and it also rules your immediate environment around you, like your immediate community. And typically the 3rd house is what we eventually leave to go to the 9th house, in the same way that when you graduate high school, consider high school the 3rd house. You leave high school and you go to the 9th house. But what ends up happening with Libra energy is Libra does bring a very people-pleasy, I just want to kind of whatever, fit in kind of energy. And this is going to conflict with Uranus transiting your 10th house, because Uranus is encouraging you to rebel. And then you have Mercury currently retrograde up until New Year's. You're reconsidering how you express yourself, and you're starting to really, it's almost like you're starting to push toward that North Node which is in Aries, which is encouraging you to go from being a diplomat to being a leader. Does that make sense? So there's going to be this urge in you in 2024 to really just, I heard burn bridges, but like to set things ablaze and to start doing things that are true to you. As opposed to kind of sitting comfortably in that 3rd house energy, because like I said, the South Node are lessons that you mastered in a past life. So you already know how to keep the peace. You already know how to be harmonious. You already know how to even work your brain with people, because wherever Libra's at, you definitely know how to level the scales. But unfortunately, when you're constantly leveling scales, a lot of Libras struggle with prioritizing their own needs. And again, like I said, the 3rd house also encompasses your immediate community, which essentially you're being encouraged in 2024 to leave. And the reason why I was saying that earlier, I was having this urge to share this same transit in my life was because I think I've told a lot of you guys I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And I just randomly decided, I'm going to Google because my 3rd house is a Scorpio rising, is in Capricorn, and Capricorn sun. Anyway, my 3rd house is in Capricorn. So I was like, when was the South Node in my 3rd house like it is in Leo risings? And funny enough, in November 2018, the South Node was in Capricorn in my 3rd house. And what happened in my life at that point in time? Because I told you my favorite person is a Leo rising. A lot of my favorite people actually are Leo risings. But anyways, back in 2018, when the South Node transited through my 3rd house, I had left my religion of origin. Remember, that immediate community. The 3rd house also rules thought and communication. I actually heard the hippocampus, which the hippocampus involves memory, learning, and emotion. So I almost kind of getting led like the 3rd house also represents, it's Gemini energy too, but the 3rd house is representing that very specifically, that early learning, that basis level. And I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And it was funny because then Saturn entered my 7th house, or not my 7th house, my 4th house as a Saturn return. So when all hell broke loose in my life right after leaving that religion, Saturn came into my 4th house and tested my traditions and my family and everything about that. So right now you're going through something similar. So for a lot of you guys, you could be finding yourself just no longer fitting in with the people that you grew up with, or maybe no longer aligning with the ideals that were instilled in you growing up until this point. So it's like maybe there was like a line of thinking or something like that, because like I said, the 4th house is more traditions, but there was a line of thinking or something that you were aligning yourself with in a Libran way. And when I say in a Libran way, you might have just been simply doing something to fit in, okay? It's like, because Libras don't want to rock the boat. Libras don't want to stir the pot. Aries is going to break the pot, okay? Aries is going to do, because Aries is ruled by the head. Aries embodies the self. Aries is a ram. It's like, I'm going to go forward almost in like an impulsive way. Like Aries was not the best. So Aries was fierce, right? But Aries lost a lot of battles because Aries didn't plan shit, okay? So it's like you consider Aries and Aphrodite, but we're gonna get to that in a different way. But anyways, you're being guided in the year of 2024 to almost break free of that community, that thought process, that communication style in a very rebellious, almost impulsive, yank away, this is mine now kind of way. And it might be uncomfortable for you because remember, the South Node brings the energy that we were in the past life. right? So in the past life, maybe it was really important for you to remain harmonious, to be able to play it safe, to be able to keep the peace. And it's going to be really uncomfortable for you, but it's going to be almost an urge in 2024 that you really cannot shake. You cannot shake it, especially because, excuse me, when does it go? So in January 15th, Saturn is semi-square your true node. So Saturn currently is in Pisces in your 8th house. And when it forms a semi-square against your true node, against the true node, so with the north node being in Aries, essentially what's going on is that there's something that's going to be going on about your shared finances. It's going to create a friction with you where it's going to almost kind of, I heard embarrass you for some of you, but it's going to really push you toward that north node. Does that make sense? So it could even, with Pluto also, that's what I was getting at. The Sun and Pluto are both going to enter your 7th house of relationships and marriage on January 20th. So this could even manifest itself as, because with the 8th house ruling shared finances, this could even manifest itself as something happening to your money. Maybe something, you sharing a business with somebody, or maybe in your career, you sharing your money or sharing something with somebody to the point where you don't have enough, and then you just decide enough is enough, fuck this shit, I'm out, okay? For others of you, it could even be like a secret comes out around mid-January that really just pushes you in that direction. For some of you guys, this could also, with Juno going retrograde in your 2nd house as well. For some of you guys, though, in a more positive way, because I'm also seeing here that Uranus is retrograde in your 10th house. So remember, retrograde energy always causes you to start to reflect on whatever the planet is trying to do, but also whatever the energy is in that house that it is transiting. So in the month of January, you're gonna feel really restless, and you're gonna feel really restless because you're getting urged, you're getting pushed by the universe to break free of whatever limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, about money, about other people, about your immediate environment, and being pushed to become a leader and to do your own thing, baby. And that's exactly what happened when this same transit happened to me back like 5 years ago. And it was very uncomfortable for me. I remember, like I said, I was a Jehovah's Witness. So when I made that decision, I lost a lot of people. And of course, that's not what everybody goes through when that transit happens. But like I said, I'm feeling led to say this to you, Leo risings, is that you might be forced to make a decision. And I'm hearing it's for your good, but it's almost like for your identity's sake. It's like you're going to have to either choose yourself or choose whatever immediate community, whatever thought process that you don't resonate with anymore. You're gonna have to choose between those two. But I can guarantee you that you're not going to feel comfortable staying in the same place, okay? Especially career-wise. There could even be like a contract that you randomly decide to break, because the 7th house does also rule contracts. And you could decide to fully go independent in something. That energy is also here. For some of you guys, this could also mean that maybe you just randomly decide that like you want to, I might not make this a yearly reading. I might make this a January prediction, because I'm already at 24 minutes and I don't want to make too long of a video because I have 2 other signs to do. So just trash what I said before. We're going to go ahead and make this a January prediction from astrologically speaking, okay? For some of you guys, this could also manifest itself in you getting divorced, like out of nowhere. Because like I said, the 8th house is shared finances. Some of you guys could just decide that like a marriage does not fit you any longer, and you decide to file for divorce, or you are going through a divorce right now. For some of you, you could free yourself financially. For others of you, because Saturn does restrict, that divorce or that situation could be restricting you financially. For others of you, and this is in a more positive direction, especially with the full moon in your 1st house. The full moon will enter your 1st house in January 25th, and then Uranus will be direct in your 10th house of career. Some of you guys could go fully independent by the end of January. Like you could have a business or an idea, especially with Mercury being retrograde and you reconsidering like your creativity and what you do for pleasure and stuff like that. And I also want to emphasize as well, I'm sorry this is all over the place. It's my first time doing this and I didn't really I didn't really plan it out. I'm just going off of the dome. I like giving stuff like that sometimes because I feel like whatever needs to come out will come out. But yes, so you could decide within the month of January, because also Capricorn being in your 6th house of health and routine, some of you guys might have a drastic change in your routine around January 11th. Like you might start something, a new health regimen, a new workout routine, or just something new in general, for your health's sake, or just for in general. Like I said, you have a lot going on when it comes to your relationships. Maybe you take on something new that ends up drastically changing your routine around the 11th. For some of you guys, this could even be, like I said, something going on with your health. Do stay aware of that, especially with Capricorn energy. Wherever Capricorn is at, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. So it's like you're going to have to really pay attention and really take care of whatever it is that you are dealing with. It might not be that serious, but Pluto is leaving that house. So it's like if you've been dealing with health issues up until this point, they might become a little bit easier. I never like to scare anybody when it comes down to astrology, but maybe you've been struggling with something health-wise. You might be seeing that in the month of January, it does get better. That is also here. But for others of you, it could manifest itself in a drastic change in routine, especially if you do decide to break free and start your own business or go independent in something. For some of you guys, that might be the restriction in your finances, is that you decide maybe you're a part of a greater entity, like you have been working with a specific company for a while, and maybe like right now as we speak, you're considering like, oh, maybe I want to break into a creative field, right? I want to break into a creative field and I want to do something that's more true to myself, especially with Sagittarian energy. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion and also of faith. Maybe you have like this idea that you've been sitting on for a really long time, and maybe right now as we're speaking up until January 1st, you're planning that out, you're considering it, you're making a vision board, you're doing whatever it is you need to do to be able to manifest that and then bring it into fruition, in the month of January. And that might require a major change in routine for you as you're deciding to break free from this greater entity. Because like I said, 3rd house is that immediate community, right? Thought and communication in a very rudimentary way. Is it rudimentary? Anyway, a very elementary way, we'll just say it like that. And breaking free from that elementary school or high school mentality to the college mentality. For others of you guys, like I said, you might be deciding to divorce somebody, and that might cause a restriction here in the 8th house of shared finances. For others of you guys, you might actually randomly decide to get married. That also is here. Like, especially with you, for example, with Mercury going retrograde in your 5th house of dating right now. It could be like you're looking at a lot of people or all of your options, or maybe the lack thereof of options, or you're seeing the history of your dating and being like, wow, this is what I do want and this is what I don't want. And with Pluto entering the house of marriage, and the sun actually, because both the sun enters your house of marriage and Pluto enters your house of marriage, both on the same day. Some of you guys might really just decide that, like, you know what, maybe there's somebody that you really like and you're considering it right now, but then you just decide, well, fuck it, I'm gonna get married, or we're getting married, or some shit like that, right? Like that energy is also present here. But there is this energy of finding oneself and staying true to oneself in the month of January. It'll be very important for you, whether that be romantically, whether that be in your career, whether that be in your thought process. It's just you're really getting this agitation, and you're going to continue to feel that agitation until you make a solid decision. And it's going to be uncomfortable for you, Leo rising, because a lot of these uncomfortable feelings are in fixed signs. So the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio. And fixed signs don't do change. It's almost like, I feel bad for y'all. I say y'all, but I'm a Scorpio rising, so maybe I'm not the best at it either. But wherever a fixed sign is, fixed signs do not do well with change. Fixed signs are almost always like, for lack of better terms, like bitch slapped into a change. And that's why I've noticed like fixed signs struggle the most with change, I think, more than any other modality, because cardinal signs are really good with change. I feel like mutable signs are good almost to a fault, to where they don't know when to stop. Mutable signs are kind of like sponges. Cardinal signs are very much leaders, but fixed signs have the focus, and that is your guys' power. But unfortunately, sometimes y'all might focus on the wrong thing, which is like, again, why I say that astrology is such a beautiful tool, because then you can kind of figure, why is all this happening? Oh, it's happening because of A, B, and C. Okay, now I know what energy to work with. But you are being encouraged, and will continue, like I said, with Uranus going direct in your 10th house of career. Uranus is going to be encouraging that rebellion from you in your career for another 2 years. So don't think that if you sit on your laurels, you're going to be happy for 2 years. You're not going to be. But all this is happening for your greater good. Yeah, some of you guys might really be considering starting your own business or going independent. That is suggested in the month of January. What else do I see here? There's something about how you identify yourself that you are currently shedding as well in the month of January. There's something that you've identified yourself with for a very, very, very long time that you are shedding, especially with that South Node, North Node axis happening. It's like you're beginning to really see how you differentiate from the people around you. You're beginning to see how your thoughts differentiate from the people around you. You're beginning to really see why it is that you don't want to be where you're at anymore, and why it is that you should not be where you're at anymore, and how it is that you can get to where it is that you truly do want to be. And unfortunately for some of you guys, you're going to have to step on some people's toes to get there, because with Pluto transiting the 7th house, what I'm also hearing is arguments and power struggles, because remember, Pluto's all about leveraging power, and it's about death and rebirth. So, and this is why I'm saying the month of January could be particularly difficult, and I want to make this abundantly clear for you. Uranus in the 10th house for 2 years, but Pluto's going to be entering that house for 20 years. So you have a major lesson in terms of your interpersonal relationships, whether that be romantic, friendships, whatever. People are going to test your limits. Friends, lovers, relatives, they're all going to come and they're going to test your limits, especially at the same time as the 3rd house being in Libra. You might find yourself getting in a lot of arguments or power struggles with people. I'm just going to give you advice. Just don't get involved. Just as soon as it starts, just walk away from it. Don't even do it, Leo. Don't even do it, because I keep getting this vibe, like with the 3rd house, with the South Node being in the 3rd house, there's like this energy of wanting to pull you back in, right? Especially when it comes to people pleasing, right? Pull you back in. And unfortunately, a lot of these people are going to be embodying that Libra South Node energy as well. They're the people pleasers. They don't want to speak up for themselves. They don't want to be leaders. They don't want to do it. And it's going to be those kinds of energies, almost like in a violent, aggressive way, trying to pull you back into that South Node past life comfort zone energy. It's going to happen a lot. But it's not happening to you, it's happening for you, because how else will you learn to stick up for yourself if not being challenged by those around you? Correct? Right? A lot of people are like, oh, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why? It's for your growth. You need, I think I posted something on my story the other day. It's like, how can you break a curse if you don't experience it? Right? How can you break a curse if you don't experience it? You need to experience this to be able to reach toward and to accomplish that North Node, especially, and I say this for somebody in very specific, especially if your natal nodes are in Aries and Libra. And when I say natal nodes, remember how I said like your Saturn return means that Saturn enters the same sign it was in when you were born. So in your birth chart, in my birth chart, it says my Saturn is in Aquarius. Okay, so if in your birth chart it says your South Node is in Libra and your North Node is in Aries, right now you're going through a nodal return. This is imperative for your soul's growth and for your soul's journey and for your destiny to master this. So yes, it will continue to happen until you master it, okay? And you got this. I mean, honestly, especially if you're doing a lot of like reviewing right now, reviewing relationships, because like I said, relationships are a really big deal for you right now. Relationships, contracts, marriage is a contract, friendships and stuff like that. All of that is coming back into review, but it's all for you to learn what your true north is, and not just your true north, to learn that no matter what it is, you're going to follow your intuition and your guidance, period. Okay, Period. It's like you're gonna do what's right for you and what's true to you, especially if your North Node is like, if your natal North Node is in your 9th house and you're experiencing a nodal return, you were literally born to be a leader, a teacher, traveling and doing so, maybe even a spiritual teacher. Okay, that is your purpose, is to do that. And definitely in the month of January, especially if people are trying to keep you from making those necessary changes or trying to put doubt in your mind, listen, I'm being encouraged to tell you they're not going to be removed because you have to remove them, okay? Life is not about, and this is where I tell people all the time, the difference between spirituality and religion is not positive and negative. Spirituality is not positive with religion being negative, and religion is not negative and or religion is not positive and spirituality is negative. They both work in tandem with each other, just one is more on the yin side and one is more on the yang side. The difference between somebody who is a mystic like myself and somebody who's like a Catholic is that they are part of a masculine structure, okay? It's not freewheeling. They are told what to do. So I consider people that are in religions to be more in that 3rd house energy. I consider religion to be like a cup. No, that's not right. Religion is a pool, okay? And spirituality is the ocean. Remember, both water comes from the same place, okay? I'm gonna try to word this properly. Water comes from the same place and water does the same shit. But some people have thalassophobia. They don't do well with the deep water or vast bodies of water or anything like that. They need to stay in that pool because they could not handle the ocean. But in the same way that some people can handle a pool but not the ocean, once again, there are beings that can only handle the ocean and not the pool. That's a reason why you can't find a great white shark in captivity. They die, okay? So there are different things meant for different people, but you cannot force a great white shark to survive in essentially an aquarium. You can't force that to happen. That's not where it belongs, okay? The great white shark belongs in the ocean. A blue whale belongs in the ocean. That's exactly where they're supposed to be, okay? And technically that's kind of what the 3rd and the 9th house embody as well. It's like when it comes to religion, religion is that pool. There's nothing wrong with that pool, okay? It's controlled, it's structured. You don't have to worry about it drastically getting deep in one section and you drown. You don't have to worry about a current coming and taking you away. You don't have to worry about any of those things. But some people are like deep divers, right? Some people they like to explore the ocean. They can handle that though, right? So I'm kind of getting for you Leo risings is that your South Node currently has you, or the South Node, not saying that all of you have the natal South Node in Libra, but right now the South Node is encouraging you to go from the pool to the ocean because the ocean is where you belong. I'll argue the ocean is where you're from. Okay, it's literally like, okay, you've been rehabilitated enough in this pool, but you're not a goldfish. Okay, you're not, what's another small ass animal that lives in a fucking, you're not, we'll just stick with a goldfish. You're not a goldfish. You're a blue whale. You don't even fit in this pool. And you're gonna really, I mean, you could like end yourself if you try to stay in this pool because you don't fit in this pool. This pool doesn't have the nutrients, it does not have the lessons, it does not have the depth, it doesn't have the space for you to fit in anymore. You belong in the ocean. That's where you're from and that's where you're being led to go back to. I'm at 40 minutes. This is why I couldn't do a year. But if you would like to do a yearly reading with me, I'm hoping that made sense. I feel like I was rambling. If you would like to do a yearly reading with me, like get your chart read, because once again, these are all just general energies from the planets. How they affect you specifically is going to be very specific to the planets that embody, the planets that you have in those houses. So for example, me, when I was going through my nodal return, not nodal return, but when I was going through the nodes transiting my 3rd house and when I left my religion, I had a stellium in my 3rd house, which means that I had 3 or more planets in that 3rd house as well. So those planets that were in my 3rd house naturally, along with the South Node transiting, also brought very specific lessons to me. So that's the reason why I say these are all general readings. For you to know very specifically how it will affect you, even like to like a pinpoint accuracy, I have to have you and your chart. You come to me. And for that, I'm charging only $100, but it'll be for only an hour, okay, that I give you that chart reading. If you'd like to leave me a tip, you can also do so. I'm going to be leaving my Cash App in the bio below. This was really unstructured, and as a Capricorn, it makes me feel uncomfortable. But again, I kind of just felt led to come and do this. Oh shit. I kind of just felt led to come and do this. I feel like it'd be helpful for somebody. But we're gonna go ahead and pull an oracle card for you. And then I'm gonna get into a tarot reading for the month of January. Resistance and speak up. So these are these are your cards, Leo. Resistance and speaking up. And then under that we have live out loud. So definitely for you, Leo risings, this is gonna be your theme astrologically for the month of January. Don't be afraid to speak up. I'm also hearing for some of you guys, don't be afraid to sit it out. I don't know what that means, but definitely there's going to be a lot of resistance from you and from those around you. And once again, this is that grandma figure I kept saying. That's a grandmother right there, okay? You have this. You know what's a funny fact is that the 9th house is of higher learning, and my 9th house is in Cancer, and my grandma was a Cancer, and she's one of my guides. So it's funny. So you never know. Check your 9th house and then check your ancestor's birthday. You might just find out that they're a guide for you and that their sun sign is in your 9th house. I'm just saying. It was a fun little fact. But anyways, I'm sorry that was all over the place. If you know me, that's probably not surprising. But I am sending you todo el cariño. I am sending you todo el cariño en el mundo. I'm sending you all the love in the world. And again, if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, if you want to get a yearly astrological forecast for your chart very specifically, just hit me up on my email. But anyways, we're going to get into an actual reading for you, I guess, after this, because now I'm feeling called to do that. Something about the microwave. Is something in my microwave? Anyways, I'm sending you lots of love, Leo risings, and I will see you maybe next month. Let's see. Ciao!